So in this video, I will illustrate how to install Arista Switch. I'm assuming you will have the access to the software. If you don't, you can send me a request and I can put it up for you on Google Drive and you can download it anyway. This is, I'm using VMware Player. The VirtualBox apparently is not very friendly with the newer version of Arista. So I'm going to use the VMware Player and illustrate the installation of Arista Switch and how to configure layer 2 and layer 3 ports. So once you have downloaded it, you go to create virtual machines and then you will click next. We'll install the operating system later. Here you just choose other 64 out of all the options here. Then you can call whatever you want. Switch 4, I will call this. And the disk size could be anything. We're going to have to delete this anyway. Finish. Once you get the switch 4 here, you go edit virtual machines. Your memory is going to be minimum 2048. Your processors would be minimum 2. Your hard drive is going to be removed. Your CD drive is where you're going to choose your. So you're going to be downloading two files, the A-boot and the VMDK, so from the Arista website. So here, this is the boot ISO for Arista. That's going to map to the CD drive. Then you're going to add, we can add the network adapters later. You add the drive. IDE recommended. Use existing virtual drive. And I've made some copies of it, so I'm going to use this guy. I just downloaded it and then I made a bunch of copies. Open. Finish. Keep existing format. And then you can add the network interfaces. 3, 4, however many you need. So in this case, let's just add one more. We're going to do L2 and L3 configuration. So here we have 5 actually. Oh, sorry, 4. The first one gets mapped to the management. So this one you can choose host only, because that's going to be your VMware Player interface, and you can telnet through your Windows to it. Then on the rest of them, you can just create your own LAN segments. I've already created some. I'm going to choose N1, network 1. For the first interface, this is E1, interface 1 on the switch. This is going to be interface 2, network segment 2, and we're going to connect the BIOS routers on these segments N1 and N2. That's about it. Once you click OK, you should be able to get the virtual switch up. This is the initial message. It'll take a little bit for it to come up. last video I did was on VirtualBox. This one is on VMware Player, and I have noticed that VMware Player is much more smoother with the Arista switch. That's pretty quick. Once it gives you a message called skip, it should do in a bit. Starting initialization, starting US. So this one, it's going to ask you to press escape to skip. So you click on the window and then press escape. To come out of this window, you just press Control All. Now, once you get this prompt, you will probably wait a little bit, a few minutes. So it's starting its process. So if you do an admin enter, it won't let you log in. So give it a minute. Admin, still too early, still trying to start its processes. Let's see if it lets you come in now. Almost a minute now. There you go. And all you got to do is just do enable. And the first thing you want to do is you want to do zero touch cancel and press enter. It's going to reboot. Otherwise, it's going to give you some annoying messages all the time. So let it reboot. So once it reboots, it's going to give you the same prompt. Press escape. Give it a minute before you log in. Just give it a minute for the processes to start. Okay, still not there yet. Give it another minute. Okay, let's see if it gives you a prompt. Here it is. Enable. And you're in business. So now let's check the interfaces. And you got three Ethernet interfaces and one management. So now let's connect the switch. First thing I typically do is I just set the host name. All right. Now, if you look at the show interface E1, will give you a MAC address 2D0C, and these are unique for each interface, as long as 2D16, 2D20. Now, with this virtual machine, what happens is when these are L2 switches, L2 ports right now by default, right? So show run interface E1, there's nothing in there, default L2, and they have unique MAC addresses. All is good, but once you configure these to be layer 3 ports by the command no switch port, then they come up with same MAC addresses. They use the system MAC address, I believe. So, and that's not going to work. So let's connect two VIOSes on E1 and E2 on L2 first. So we go to our VMware player, go to our first VIOS, make sure it's connected to N1, LAN segment N1, okay, bring up the second VIOS, V2, make sure it's connected to N2, network segment 2. Is okay. Bring that one up. And so your default Ethernet ports show run interface E1 has nothing in there, 2 has nothing in there. So if you do show VLAN brief, it's only got one VLAN with Ethernet 1, 2, and 3. So port 1 is connected to VIOS 1, port 2 is connected to VIOS 2. They should be able to talk by default. VIOS login, show interface, configure, set interface E0, address 10.1.1/24. And then let's run the pings. So if you do the show MAC address table, you'll see that it already populated both the MAC addresses on E1 and E2. So this one is C23.5. So if you look at C23.5 is this one is 03F1. So it's connected to E1, 03F1, right? There it is, 03F1. 03F1 is connected to Ethernet 1. And VIOS 2, show interface Ethernet 0. It's got C235, which is connected to C235 on E2. Okay. So now you got the MAC address table populated automatically. So this guy should now be able to ping. We've got 10.1.1.1. 10.1.1.2. And there you go. So now the MAC address table is like that. Show ARP has nothing. This guy will show the ARP for 10.1.1.2 to be C235. So this is pretty straightforward for layer 2 ports. Now let's go configure layer 3 ports on this switch. So we're gonna go configure interface E1, no switch port. Now it's layer 3. Now we can give an IP address 10.1.1.10, and what you're going to see is show interface E1 as a MAC address 1C19. Okay. Config interface E2, no switch port. Show interface E2 1C19. Both of them has same MAC addresses. So how do you fix it so that you can make this thing work? You go here, config interface E1, MAC address, router address for E1, let's just say 111, interface E2, MAC address, router 222, and then show interface E1. Your MAC address is now a different one. So that MAC address has to be unique. Networking basics, right? So now that you have your unique MAC addresses, you should be able to ping. There you go. And now for this guy, we're gonna do delete, because now we are on 2 different subnets. Before it was a layer 2 switch, this was a layer 2 switch, and both of the VOSs could be on the same subnet, 10.1.1. So now we're going routed interfaces, so subnet needs to be different. Set interface Ethernet 0 address 10.222/24. Commit, and then config interface E2 IP address. I don't think I've configured that. Let's check. IP address 10.222.10. And then when you go here, run ping 10.222.10. We got it. Now can we ping networking basics? Can we ping VOS from VOS 2 to VOS 1? The answer is no. Show IP route. I don't have a route to 10.1, so I'm going to give a route. Set protocol static route 10.1.1/32. Next hop is 10.2.2.10, right? Can I ping now? No, because the packet is getting here, right? Nothing shows here. Monitor traffic. What was the command? Monitor interface Ethernet 0. Show IP route. I need to see my ARPs. Show monitor. Interface Ethernet 0. Traffic. That's what I was missing. And I would filter that to ICMP. So now it's going to capture it, and it's not receiving the traffic from here, even though I have a static route. So let's see what's going on. I can see the echoes coming through this switch, but from here I do not. Let's see what's going on. And 10.2 is the interface address. Show IP route. And if I want to go to 10.1.1, my next hop is 10.2.2.10, which is this guy. Right, and I was able to ping it. Yep. So when I do ping to this guy, I should see ICMP coming through, but I do not. Okay, no problem. Let's see if I can configure, because it doesn't have a route yet. So it needs to, the packet, even if the packet is coming here, it doesn't have a packet kind of going back. So let's configure. Set protocol static route 10.2.2/32. Next hop is 10.1.1.10. Okay. So now I have a route back from this guy to him. Run show IP route. If you want to go to 10.1.1.1, and show interface. My static route, run ping 10.1.1.1. Let's troubleshoot this. So both of them has a static route. This one has a static route towards this guy to reach 10.2.2, and this one has a static route 10.1.1 to reach this guy, so the packet should go through. Going through, not going through, that means this guy is not passing the traffic, so yes, the routing is not enabled. So once you enable IP routing, they'll start talking to each other. So basically what we just did was make sure that when you were installing the Arista switch, your default layer 2 interfaces are good when you want to make communication happen between the devices. When you convert them into a layer 3 port with no switch command, no switch port command, putting an IP address, you have to put in a MAC address, a unique MAC address. So here's your basic networking show interface. You got this interface connected to this guy on this subnet, 10.1.1, and E2 connected to this subnet, 10.2.2. And then for a packet to go from here to here, you need to tell the device how to get there by a static route, that if you want to reach to 10.2.2, go to 10.1.1.10, which is this guy, one that's connected. So this is basic networking. And then on the switch, you will enable the IP routing to make sure IP routing works. Hope this helps.